But I'll just talk about the schedule for a minute, and then I'll just do a little demo of creating a final project pitch. Um, so if we look at our last couple weeks, um, I think we're technically in week 13 actually now, or like we're really in like week 12 and a half or something like that. But we've wrapped up all of our projects, so we're not doing any new material. We'll just have tonight, and then we have basically 4 classes after this to work on the final project. And so our last class is December 13th, which is 2 weeks, or sorry, December 12th, I think, is 2 weeks from today. So we have 5 total classes, including today. And today I'll just go over the final project, and then on the rest of the classes, we'll just have workshop time. Um, so that'll be a good chance for you guys to catch up on things, but also work on your final project. And so uh, the last day, there's still like another week and a half after the last day. I think the last day of exam week is the 21st of December. Um, so you will have like another week and a half after that. And then we were technically supposed to meet for an exam sometime during that week. And so I am actually required to like hold some type of meeting during that week. And so since we don't have like an exam, we'll just have another kind of like open workshop time. So we can talk about that. We can vote on when we want to have that happen, but it'll probably just be like a Monday or a Wednesday night at the same time as we usually have class. But anyway, getting into the final project. So for what I'm going to talk about tonight is just creating the pitch. So the pitch is just an open lab post. And so you can just describe what you want to work on for the final project and then give some sort of like description of the user interaction and then a description or examples of the visuals that you want to use. So if you're going to work on something that you've already started, you could just take, screen captures of the project that you're already working on. But if you're starting something new and you don't have visuals yet, then you can just make some mock-ups or you can just do a description of whatever you think it should be. So I'll do a couple of different examples. Um, for working on the final project, you can continue working on something that we've already created, any of the assignments, and just add to it. You could do a combination of the two things, or combination of multiple things that we've done, or you could just do something completely different if you have like a different idea for something that you want to do. Keep in mind, like a good place to look for previous examples of this is in student work. You can see final projects that have been done by students in previous semesters, which I do need to update a little bit. I have another semester to add in here. Uh, but yeah, in terms of the requirements for the final project, it just has to be a website. So similar to the projects that we've been making, using some type of JavaScript library, which actually the JavaScript library is not required. You can if you want to, but if you are just going to write it in JavaScript from scratch, that's fine as well. You have to have this site online, and the code has to be available somehow, either through one of the web-based editors that we've used or another platform. It has to be interactive, so there has to be some type of user interaction in the project, and then you have to do some documentation. So publish an Open Lab post with images from your project and links to um, your site and your code. So that's pretty straightforward. It's pretty similar to what we've been doing already. So most of you guys, if you just take a project that you've already created, you should be able to just elaborate on it a little bit, and that should be fine for the final. Um, so what I'm going to do is just kind of go over making a post. So it's, not super exciting. Most of you guys probably know how to do this already, but just so we kind of can see what this will look like. If I'm making the pitch, so this is for the pitch, not the final project itself. Those are two separate assignments. So for the pitch, it's just a description of what you want to do so you can start thinking about it and I can give you feedback and stuff. So I'm just going to go to the Open Lab. I'm already signed in, but you may need to log in if you're not signed in and create a new post. And let's add a category for this. So it looks like I thought I added a category for the interactive assignment, but I don't see it here. So let's just go ahead and add it now. Assignment 5, interactive story. Um, but then I'm going to call this final project pitch. Okay, so this is just the pitch. Again, it's not the final project. So if you have a name for your final project, you can give it a name. I'm just going to call this my final project. And for this one, I'm just going to do an example like if I want to, let's say I want to combine my interactive story and my 3JS project. So I wanted some visuals from 3JS and I want to use the story component of my interactive story. So I'll just make a quick description of that. Let me look at the requirements again. Okay, so for my final project, I will combine the graphics from my 3.js assignments with the narrative in my interactive story assignment. So you don't necessarily have to go into how you're actually going to make the code work. This is just like a basic pitch idea. So I have an idea for how I would do this coding wise, but I'm not going to talk about that in here. If you're concerned about that, if you have an idea but you're not sure how to make the code work, just let me know. Send me a message on Discord, or we can meet and talk about it, or we could talk about it in class as well. So for my final project, I'm going to combine the graphics from my 3JS assignments with the narrative in my interactive story assignment. So then I want to kind of give an example. So if I have, uh, if I've already created a project that I'm going to keep using, it's a good idea to just use the graphics from that. So I'm going to go to my glitch page and find my old 3JS project, and I'm just going to take a couple screenshots from here. So I'm going to go to the project. How do I view the actual project? I guess I can just do it right in here, but let's see. How do I go to the website? Edit, uh, view source, readme, visit. There we go. Okay, so here's my project. So I'm just going to take a couple screenshots here. Doing this on the Mac is, oh, actually, let me share my screen because I'm just sharing the browser right now. So let me share the whole screen. Okay. So if I'm on the Mac, it's easy to do this. I just hit Command Shift and then 4, and that turns my cursor into this little target. And then what I want to do now is actually hit the space bar, and that turns it into like a little camera, and I can take a picture of um, the browser window or whatever window I'm in. So then I can come over here and get a different angle and then hit Command Shift 4 again and spacebar and then take another screenshot. So I have a couple shots of the graphics that I'm using. So I can upload those to my OpenLab post. If you're not on Mac, if you're on a Windows, you can do the same thing using either the Xbox Game Bar or the snipping tools. Um, I don't know if I've gone over this already this semester, I probably have, but if you go to the Open Lab page and go to documentation resources, there are videos on how to make screenshots for Mac and PC. So you can just go there and take a look. Um, so I've got some graphics to add in. So here's my final project. I'm going to add in some graphics. So I'm going to click on the plus and go to image and go to upload. And these will just be on um, my desktop. So I'm going to the desktop and selecting these. It's only letting me select one. So I'll select one and then add another one. So now I have an example of some of the graphics. If you are doing something else like different from a project that you've made before, you may just want to do a mock-up. You could do that in, P5, you could do it in Illustrator, just like a basic diagram of what you think it'll look like. I'll do an example of that in a second. So for this final project, I'm going to combine graphics with 3JS and the interactive story assignment. So I'm going to describe a little bit more. I'll say as the user clicks through the interactive story, the 3JS scene will be used as a background for different settings. So the idea here is that there'll just kind of be a 3D background behind the text, and so you'll see the text on top. So that's the basic idea. So this covers how the user is going to go through the interactive story, how the graphics are going to be used. And so it's not very elaborate, but this basically gets the idea across. Let's see if I need to do anything else. Yeah, this is pretty much goes over what I want to do. So it doesn't have to be super elaborate. Let's preview this and see how it looks. But we just want to make it clear what the goal for the project is. Um, so I think that looks pretty good. So I'll do another example. If I was doing one that I didn't have a project already started for, so I'm going to make a new post. So this will be my second final project. Let's find the categories. Final project pitch. Okay, my final project pitch. So for this one, I'm going to do something that I don't actually have some visuals for. So for this one, what I want to do is combine so I'll say for the final project, I want to combine my generative music assignment with, let's do 3JS again, but I don't have the visuals, with 3JS to provide visuals. So I'll say for each note that plays, the scene will add a new shape in the position of the note on the scale. So I'll just basically use like 3D shapes to represent the notes. And since I don't have a visual for this, I'm just going to make a mock-up. So depending on what you want to do, I'm just going to use P5 because it's like easy to do it. But you could use, uh, like um, Illustrator or Photoshop or any graphics program. So I'm just going to open up a P5 sketch and just quickly design something. So I just want like shapes to represent notes. So I'm just going to do a little loop, and I'll do 8 notes in the scale. So I is less than 8, I plus plus. We'll do a random fill. I'm just going to keep this super simple. So I'll do a fill random, random, random. Whoops. And uh, then I'll say if random 1 is greater than 0.5. So I'm just going to do a little choice. It's either going to be a rectangle. So I'll do a rectangle. So let's figure out x real quick. So x equals I times width divided by 8. And I'll just do random y. So I'll say y equals random height. But I'm going to make it so it's in even intervals. So I'll say height divided by 100 and then multiply 100. I don't know if that's going to work, but let's give it a shot. So then I'll have a random number for a rectangle, and I'll just do x, y, and 100, and then an ellipse at x, y, and 100. And I don't want to draw. Let's just do mouse pressed. Oh, was that gonna work? Yeah, I'll just click here. No, okay. Oh, I spelled mouse pressed wrong. Okay, there we go. So it didn't do exactly what I wanted to do, but it's close enough. Just for this example, we just want to make something that makes it visually clear what's going to be happening. So I'm just making a 2D mock-up basically. Oh, I see the issue. What I really want is random, like 4 times 100. So random, let's say round random 4 times 100. Okay, yeah, that's closer to what I was imagining, except the circles and the squares are not in the same place. So let's do, for my circle, we got to add 50 to x and y, since the circle is centered. There we go. Okay. This is starting to look more like what I would imagine. Anyway, I'll just take a couple screenshots of this. So I'll just say save in here and say mockup.png. And so I'll click a couple times, and now I've got some mockups. Okay, so now I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to describe what this mockup is doing. So the following mockup shows the layout of the composition, uh, where shapes are stand-ins for 3D geometries. So this is basically saying that this is just like a mock-up, and when I add the 3JS part, it's going to look like this, but I'm, obviously doing like 3D graphic stuff. Um, so for this one, I put a bunch of these. Let's do a gallery for this one, actually. So let's delete this. So I can do multiple images, and this will be in my downloads folder. So I'll open this up. So you don't have to use P5 for this. I just used it because I'm familiar with it, so it's a little bit faster than other stuff. But this looks good. Um, so I've described the idea, I've added some visuals, and now I just have to talk about how the user is going to interact with this. And so for the music part, I guess I'll just have the user maybe click on different notes to change the scale or something like that. So the user will click on different notes to change the starting scale for the generative composition. So we just want to talk about how it will be interactive. There should be some, even if it's just a little bit, there should be some interactivity in the sketch. Okay, so this is a different version of my final project. Let's see how this looks. Okay, again, very simple. I only wrote like 4 sentences, but it describes the basic approach. And you don't have to talk about the code, just kind of what the goal of the project is and how it's going to work. So yeah, that's basically the idea for the final project pitch. You guys can work on those this week, and then we can go over them next week. So you'll have some feedback. I'll take a look at them and let you know. If you have questions about the code, we can go over that. But also just conceptually, if it's something that seems good for a final project, or seems overly ambitious, or not ambitious enough, or whatever the case is, we can talk about that. And so you'll have a little bit of feedback to work on before starting the final project. So that's basically everything I wanted to cover. I'm going to stop